My guest today is Dr. Corey from Sexy Marriage Radio. And my first question for you, Corey, is what's your favorite memory of Dr. Schnarch?
At the last live training I was at with him. I missed the one right prior to his passing that was online, but I was at the year prior, and I got a chance to say to both he and Ruth how much I respected the fact that they are huge, in my opinion, in the marriage world while still having a marriage. Because so many theorists in that I've studied or come across, they don't it doesn't translate, and it's a broad brush statement where they're divorced or they're on the third or fourth marriage, and it's yeah, I get life happens and there's a lot of other factors involved, but it's that idea of he they tended to live exactly what they taught
And he
and
wrote
what the
about that. He
theory.
wrote about that so plainly in his books, including the difficulties he had. And he was just very real about his marriage. And it,
Yeah.
it was a great marriage, and it was also a difficult marriage.
Yeah. And they modeled what that is, and the fact that just because it's bad doesn't mean it's bad. Right? It's
It's
the seasons
normal.
we have,
Yeah, I remember, I think
it's
in Passion
okay.
Marriage, he talks about how he would reach these points in his life where he thought he was past a point. He thought what he said, I thought we were moderately differentiated people. And then they'd run into some marriage challenge and he'd be like, oh my gosh, we're still going through this after all these years.
Uh-huh.
But I think that's the way it is for everybody.
Absolutely, and that gives me comfort because my wife and I had that last week, where it's like, oh, this is sideways. We haven't had this in a bit. Okay, I
Yeah.
thought we were further along. I thought we were better than
I
this. No, we're
don't think
not.
you ever get
Let's
past it.
no,
I was talking to
no,
Bruce Tift. Have you ever read Bruce Tift? His book is already free.
no.
Bruce Tift lived in Colorado. He's a Buddhist psychotherapist, and he went to several of Schnarch's workshops. And he has a book called Already Free, and two of the chapters on marriage. And he's famous for saying that during his 40 years of marriage, he felt disturbed almost every day. But he's like, once again framing that. He's like, I've had a wonderful marriage, and I felt disturbed every day of my marriage, and that's the way marriage is. And I was
Mm-hmm.
talking to him yesterday, and I said, "So do you still feel disturbed in your marriage?" And he said, "Oh yeah, every day." And I just think
Yeah.
it's a beautiful way of looking at things.
Well, it's so much more real and accurate to the human experience because I think what we've done that's a disservice in a lot of ways to marriage is we've sensationalized and idealized and romanticized what two fallen humans create,
Absolutely.
right? And we don't bring in the undercurrent of cruel and harsh and sad and hate and
Mhm.
all these things that we have as part of the human experience, and there's no room for it in a lot of the ways stuff is proposed. But the whole differentiation model to me, that's what drew me to it, is it just makes sense on that's a real experience. That's I can get behind that, and then I can also totally, I don't like it, but I can totally get behind the idea that the biggest problem in my life is me. And if
Mhm.
I can handle me better, I
Mhm.
change the course of everything around me.
Absolutely. I've never heard it said that way. The biggest problem in my life is me, but I think that's always true. And it's also the biggest opportunity because that's what I can actually change.
Right, that's what I have control over. I can't remember who it was. This was just talked about in our in a sermon a couple months ago at our church, where it was. I think it was during World War One or World War Two. A newspaper put out what's the biggest problem in the world, and I I got to remember the guy's name because it was a prominent guy from America wrote into the paper, and he just a simple answer: I am.
Yeah.
I am the biggest problem in my world, and that's so true.
There's a Dostoevsky quote that I like that says, "The line between good and evil runs through the heart of every person," which
Yeah.
is so true because it's so easy for me to get distracted by getting obsessed with the evil in the world, or the evil in my partner, or the things my wife needs to change, or the things the government needs to change, or whatever it is. The thing
Right.
that I can change, you know the mistake I'm making is thinking that there is no more work for me to do internally, but of course there is. And
Right.
the only way the
Always.
work gets better is when an individual does their own work and becomes stronger and more capable of loving and caring.
Hmm.
then the world gets better. And all of my power to improve the world lies in my own transformation.
Hmm. No, that's so good, and it gets even more compounded when I feel like I'm loving and caring better, and my spouse isn't, responding in kind.
Mhm.
That now I'm even tested more, which is the whole concept of the crucible, and
Mhm.
that's the thing I love, is because it allows you to be more real and honest about life, about relationships, about real deep things. That How else do you frame it? I mean, there's not many other things out there I've ever come across that frame it that way.
Sometimes I think of it as I'm a big fan of right and left brain. And your right brain I think of as the relational brain. And the right brain is capable of thinking of my impact on my wife and her impact on me and how we're so deeply interconnected. And everything I do and even everything I feel has an impact on her, as opposed to, you know, conceiving of her as some separate individual who's just kind of doing her own thing. And it's okay for me to get frustrated with her when in reality, most of the things my wife does is in response to the environment she's living in. And that's just how
Hmm.
normal people are. And so I have so much power to impact my wife in a positive way by improving the environment that she's living in, by
Hmm.
being a better husband.
Right. Yeah. Just showing up better, being more compassionate, giving more room. I mean, I love the idea of a good, strong, vibrant marriage has room for both people.
Hmm.
That neither one's trying to force the other out for my own comfort or preference,
Yeah.
if you will. This is the way I'd rather it be done, so therefore it must be done this way. Really? What? Hold on. Let's go deeper in that. Really? I don't think that's the case.
So before we started recording, you mentioned that you have started thinking about a new book. Tell me about that.
So the idea that I'm looking at is really trying to contextualize the action associated with creating a better life, not just the theory. And I don't know if you know Chris Brogan.
Yeah, I never heard
He's
of him.
a blogger. He's a blogger that's been
Mhm.
around for a long, long time that I followed. And when it comes to New Year's resolutions every year, he doesn't do New Year's resolutions. He does 3 words. And these are kind of anchors and lighthouses on the shore that help direct us. And it gives us a broad range, professionally, personally, spiritually, relationally, however you want to go. And I've been doing this for the past 8. And 2 years ago, one of my words was now, and that served 2 purposes. One was to be present, be in the now, but then the other was, if I had something that came to mind I needed to get done, do it now. Like, oh, I need to send that email. Okay, stop, write what I'm doing right then and there, send it, and be done.
Yeah.
And it totally changed my year on
Mhm.
how I oriented towards and acted in my life.
Mhm.
That, oh, I need to get, oh no, I hop up and I would do it. And it changed so much so that it started impacting my wife, and then subsequently my kids were all kind of impacted by it. Where the next year my wife's word, one of hers, was act, and it was based off of watching what it did for me. And and that was nothing I was telling her, hey, you should do this too. I was just living. And that you start seeing the impact of that. And it's I think that formula works in the sense of, what is it that would create a better life and a better relationship as I see it,
Mhm.
that encompasses me not just getting what I want, but it also encompasses who I am
Mhm.
and who I want to be with.
Mhm.
And so the idea is just living my way to a better marriage, because there's tangible things I think we need to be doing, which calls upon my own courageousness, my own ability to self confront, handle myself, calm myself down,
Mhm.
make good responses, and see things
Mhm.
through. I mean, so it's just this idea of, I think there's ways that we can frame that, which is what if I look at the arc of Schnarch's work, that's where he was heading, and
Mhm.
being much more practical and
Oh,
tangible from when he
every
started
year.
with the constructing the sexual crucible.
Yeah.
That was
No,
that.
there is an arc there where by the time he got to his last book, it was incredibly practical and very much
Yes.
focused on what you're calling living your way to a better marriage, which is a beautiful idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just the tangible nature of it. I think we all want. I'll speak for me. I want give me the steps, give me the plan. If my YouTube thread is filled with 8 ways to be a better runner by science, backed by science, 8 ways to get to 8% body fat, backed by all these
Hmm.
things that we want,
Hmm.
and we want this with relationships. The relationships don't operate that way.
Yeah.
I can give you some principles, but I think there's tangible ways you can act on those principles, and that's what I
Yeah,
want to try
and
to
it's the
instill.
process of acting. One compare or a metaphor I use with my clients is time under load, which is an idea from the fitness world. Where if I'm trying to get
Hmm.
stronger, one thing I need to pay attention to is how many minutes does, if I'm targeting a muscle group, how many minutes has that muscle group been under load over the last week? And so the
Hmm.
number of minutes per week under load, there's an optimum level there, and it's not zero and it's not like 40 hours, but there's an optimum level, and that's what I need to target. And so time under load for personal growth is how many minutes per week am I pushing myself to become better? As in, I've noticed a pattern of behavior that I want to change. And how many minutes per week am I pushing against that instinct? Am I acting counter instinctively? Am I
Hmm.
acting in a better way than what my natural pattern is? And that's what I think
Right.
about as time under load.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the whole differentiation model in a lot of ways is it's paradoxical, right? That
How so?
it's counterintuitive in the sense that most people think this is what I come across with my clients initially, or new listeners to the show that aren't familiar with the idea of differentiation and growing up and maturing is a better way to a relationship. They think of it as, oh, we just need to learn how to communicate better.
Mhm,
No, you
mhm.
don't. You need to be able
It's
to
not
handle
the
what's being
problem.
communicated.
Yeah.
That's the paradox, right?
Mhm,
So it's seeing it as like you're describing. When I start to realize I got a pain point in my life, how do I lean into that, not pull away from it? That because most of us, when we have pain, we want to pull away. I just want the pain to
mhm,
go away. Give me an aspirin, right? Rather than, okay, wait, what if I got curious and asked some good questions that actually lean into this,
mhm,
that push my tolerance level to
mhm.
grow,
Well, that's your
and
time under
then I
load.
have more range.
How
Yeah,
many minutes am I going to tolerate the discomfort for growth? And if it's
yeah,
0 minutes, which is most of where we want to go, then we're not going to grow.
yep.
Now, if I'm going to sit in that for 30 minutes a day or 40 minutes a day, then there's significant growth happening. But it has to be, you know, there's something about a certain attitude I have to bring to those minutes under load. And so if I'm suffering and I'm blaming my wife for my suffering, then that's not growth. But if I'm suffering, I don't know if suffering is the right word. If I'm
No,
experiencing,
I like it. I like the idea of struggle and suffer. This is what came to my mind when you're
okay.
talking about this. Is I had a client, one of the ones I have tremendous respect for, a woman I was working with for over a year, and she was kind of dropped off the radar for a while, and then she came back, and I love it because when she came back, I don't think she used the word suffer. I think she used the word struggle, but I think
That's a
they can
better
be a
word.
little bit
It's a better word.
I think they can be a little bit interchangeable because life is suffering in a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of in a lot of ways too, right? Um, but she when we got back together, I was like, "So what's going on? Catch me up." And she said, so she filled me in on the background of what had happened in her marriage, and then she pivoted to what does she want? She wanted to learn how to struggle well,
It's
and
beautiful.
I'm like, oh, that's a fantastic goal because you've already framed it appropriately. Because it's not I'm going to make the struggle go away. I just want to be better in how I address
Mhm.
this struggle,
Yeah, and I'm
and
going
that's
to
marriage.
struggle for a purpose with the anticipation that my struggle will bear fruit,
Hmm.
which is if done well, if you approach the struggle correctly, then you will reap great rewards from the struggle.
Hmm. Yeah, because you learn, you open
Hmm.
yourself up to something you hadn't even realized you were capable of, or I mean
Hmm.
that's what life in of itself presents. I mean, part of the reason my marriage went a little sideways last week is we're on the cusp of our youngest heading to college in a month.
That's a rough
And
time, man.
we already know going in from the oldest when she left that we had about a month of, wow, things are way off. And it's not like we were longingly devastated because I mean we've had in this back of our minds. I know they're going to leave. They need to leave. I'm excited for them to leave, but there's the other side of it where it's like I'm not. I'm still unsure. There's an identity shift here, and there's an adjustment, and all of these things. And so it's like realizing I can do everything I want to try to control my environment, or I can realize, wait, this is just a stage. I need to face it better.
We had a similar experience where my youngest spent 2 weeks away from home this summer, and it was the first time in 23 years that my wife and I had been home alone. We had never been home alone since our oldest was born. And
Okay.
and so we're in the house alone, and like our anxiety just went through the roof. It was crazy. It's one of
Mm.
these things like I thought we were through this. Oh yeah, we were not through this. We were through
No.
it with the kids home, but as soon as it's just us in the house, we had no idea. I mean, it took us 3 or 4 days
Yeah.
to calm down. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But and it's an adjustment to be expected. And you know, we were strong enough to struggle well and to make something good out of it. But it was pretty interesting how dysregulated I got.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of the whole goal of the message I've got, and it sounds like you do too with the work in this show, is how do we just educate people that when I have life on life terms unfold and it makes me dysregulated or uncomfortable, good. That's okay. That's to be expected.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. And if
Hmm.
I avoid that struggle, if I avoid the suffering, then I also avoid the growth. It's almost like kicking that can down the road. The only way to have a good marriage is to face the struggle well and face the struggle now, step into the conflict, step into the difficulty and face my own weakness, and that's the only way to get stronger. You know, if I go to the gym and I'm like, well, I don't need to strengthen that muscle, then that muscle isn't going to get stronger. And it's the same thing in marriage. This is a problem
Right.
I deal with a lot with myself and in clients is the presumption of innocence. I had a client I had a client the other day. I was talking about how he was really fighting to appear innocent, and he said, "So what? Am I guilty?" It's like, no, you're normal. I mean, you can call it guilty if you want, but you're normal. And you're so desperate to claim your innocence that you won't fight for growth because you're claiming that you don't need to grow. So the
Hmm.
first step is like, before I can even look at where point B is, I have to fully acknowledge that I really am at point A. Because most of us are like,
Right.
yeah, we're A.5, or we're not at point A, but we are. And I can't
Right.
grow unless I admit the need for growth.
Yeah, because most often in it pretty obvious that, well, from an objective point of view, it's obvious. When we're in the middle of it, it's not at all obvious because it's happening. It happens to me too. Of I don't even recognize how lost I am,
Mm.
or how unaware of and blind I am of myself.
Oh, it's so
Right?
easy.
I think I've got it, but
Mhm.
no, I
But the
don't.
gift of
And
marriage is that your wife sees it.
she'll reflect some things back, sometimes clearly, sometimes not. And but it's again, it's the courage. Do I have the courage to ask the questions, to be curious, to pause and wonder, okay, wait, what if I'm off here? What if I'm missing something here? I mean, I've had a couple of those moments that are big, big growth moments for me personally, where an exchange happened between Pam and I, and it's like, hold on a second. I don't want to discount the possibility that I'm missing something in me here. So help
Yeah.
me understand what you're seeing. Because if this is true, I don't want to be blind to it. I don't know if it is true, but I'm at least going to be aware that I may not be aware. And
There's this
that's
been
the goal.
this huge change has happened in my communication with my wife over the past year where when we have any kind of conflict between us, the pace has slowed down like 2 to 3 times from what it used to be. And so there's no longer any interruption. It's not even, it used to be us interrupting each other all the time, like that was our normal pattern. And now it's like, it's not even responding after the other person finishes talking. It's like, I'll say something, and then there's 10 seconds, and then she'll say something, and then there's 10 seconds. But both of us have realized that the first idea that comes into our mind is not what we really want to say. And so
Right.
we're both at this stage where it takes a few seconds to say the thing that we really want to say. The first idea is usually a pretty bad idea. I mean, we both come from pretty rough backgrounds, and the first idea that pops into my mind is usually a put down. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
that's just way it's how my brain works, and it probably
Yeah.
will work that way for a while. And so the process I'm going through is time under load, actively working against that pattern because I there's a better part of me as well. The better part of me usually takes a few seconds to show up if I'm regressed, if I'm upset. Now if I'm calm, the better part of me might show up immediately, but you know, if my wife has just criticized me, probably not. It's probably going to take a few seconds, and so that slowing down
Yeah.
is super powerful.
Well, see, I'm impressed that you guys can do a 10-second because
Mhm.
I'm one that's more like a day.
Oh yeah, well that's different. That's just avoidance.
Sometimes, because my MO, family of origin pattern that I still fight is I want to just withdraw. I want to
Yeah,
hide. I
yeah.
want to run. I don't want to
Mhm.
face this. It'll go away, right?
Sure.
You can't catch me. And so I've at least grown enough of a self that I can turn back into these things. I will come back to it.
Hmm.
And that's also the scary thing that I'm more and more aware of is my profession doesn't help me personally because I think I can stay objective like I'm a good therapist in this whole
Hmm.
situation with my
No, not
wife.
with your wife.
And no, 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 no. It's
Doesn't work that way.
it, but she will knock that out of the park right
Yeah,
quick if
good for
if
her.
that
She
guy
should.
shows up. Yes, absolutely she should. But it's that element of okay, I need to get better at staying engaged on a deeper level without the fear of needing like I need to run
Yeah,
and and then come back to it. And sometimes that's a good strategy. I mean, one of the tangible things I think I encourage couples to do all the time when they're first starting this endeavor together is you got to do something that disrupts your normal cycle
yeah,
of regression
yeah,
attacks.
yeah. Usually,
And
I tell couples to focus on slowing down. That's the one because everyone comes and asks for communication tips. I'm like, well, here's my communication tips: slow down, talk more
mhm,
slowly, take a 10 seconds pause. So your partner says something, wait 10 seconds and then respond. And if you notice that anxiety going above a 5 out of 10, then go take a 10-minute break. Just say, hey, I'm feeling defensive. I'll be back in 10 minutes. As opposed to
mhm.
10 days for you. But that's different. But coming back in 10 minutes, that's the idea that it takes about 10 minutes for
Yeah.
most people to calm down, at least
Oh,
sometimes.
absolutely.
So you can calm yourself significantly in 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, there's a chance of doing something, with the
Yeah.
process.
We
Yeah.
we use we use the adage of I'm going to go get a glass of water, and
Oh,
that's code.
beautiful. Oh, I
That
love that. Yeah,
that's
I'm going to
code
start using
for
that. That's a
give me
that's a great
give me a
idea.
break. I'm going to go actually get water, and I'm going to sit and drink it. Some days I'm really really well hydrated, um,
I do that during
because I'm
sessions. I get so hydrated
because
during
I'm taking
sessions.
on myself, and I'm not good, and
Yeah.
but that's a code for both of us need to stop,
Yeah.
but for sure I'm going to,
Sure.
and I'm going to go get a glass of water, and then when I drink said water, I'll come back. And so that's where it shifted big time for us. That is kind of a tangible thing that helps us disrupt it, and then see what's the bigger thing that we're really going after. Because the bigger
Yeah.
story that I want to be a part of is I want to be a part of a good marriage. I want to be a part of a good life, and
Yeah.
this is the practice that creates
Mhm.
it.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to see your new book. I'm glad you're writing again.
It's coming along. Those things, man,
They
that's a
take
tough
forever.
deal.
Yeah,
That's
they
a,
take. I'm not even going to think about it for like 5 years. So maybe
yeah.
someday.
Well, I've kind of figured out, and this is probably what I'm going to end up doing because the way Naked Marriage came about is it was a course first,
Oh
and
yeah.
so
Okay. So it kind of
this
evolved.
thing this thing may materialize into something that's kind of a tangible. Hey, here we go, and we're going to kick it off with some of the episodes we do on the show, with some of the deep dives into some of the ideas, and then how do you do it, and kind of get the feedback and the real time interaction with Pam on that, and
Mhm.
that helps create something that's a lot better than my academic brain that I'll
Yeah.
stay too high up in the clouds.
Yeah. One thing I've learned about writing is that it's more about the iteration and the revising than the initial words on paper, which really frustrates me.
Yeah,
But I do think it's true that writing is a way of uh, bringing ideas into polish because
yeah,
once an idea is on paper, now I can look at is there a better way to say this? Is a way to make it shorter, more concise, more clear,
yeah,
more powerful? And there always is. I
and
mean,
that's
not always, but at least after the initial draft, there is.
yeah, and that's one of the most powerful things Schnorr landed his life on is that idea of the written mental
Yeah.
dialogues and that whole tangible nature that you can use with clients and I use with myself
Oh, all the
a
time.
lot
Yeah.
of I'm going to write this stuff out because it really does help me get a better picture of me and who I'm up against and then what's the bigger issue? What are we really fighting about? What's this
Mhm.
real thing that I want in this relationship or
Mhm.
that's reality in this relationship? And so if you look at the arc of his work, he landed on and he was kicking that around and talking about it, man, at one of the first crucible neurobiological therapy trainings that was in Seattle.
Mhm.
It would have been 8, 9 years ago, probably. That's where I first was introduced to it,
Mhm.
and it wrecked me. for a while because I've actually was like, I don't want to do this. This is
Yeah.
this is too meddling into my world and my own mind.
Mhm.
And then you watch how it all the iterations just evolved. It was so good.
Oh, it's a beautiful. It's my favorite tool. Would you mind, just because I've never introduced it to my audience, would you mind just giving an overview of what a mental dialogue is and how you use it?
Sure. So this is the idea. It's built on the principles of the maps that we have of each other,
Mhm.
and how I have a history. Like I'll use Pam. I use software iteration concepts in this too. That I'm married to Pam, just to throw a number out there, 10.0, 10.0.
That's awesome.
In my mind, though, is still Pam 2.5 that that I will interact with in real time,
Sure.
and it's based on truth, but it's not accurate. And so, being able to do the written mental dialogues is the dialogue that goes on our own head about the antagonist. It's not really about the antagonist. It's the antagonist in my head. And if I can't get that sorted out to actually confront that better, there's no way in the world I'm going to confront the real person better.
Mhm.
And it's not confront, and this is one of the key factors to me, James, that I'm assuming you're well versed in as well. That it's not about pinning them down so that they recognize the error of their ways ever. It's just about how I can present myself to be dealt with better.
Yes,
They may not
absolutely.
want to deal with me. That's fine.
Mhm.
That's not the point. But I present myself better
Mhm. Yeah.
to be handled or addressed, or
Mhm.
I'm teaching them how to treat me better.
Yeah.
And so you take you take a scene, an interaction, an episode, and now today's day and age technology helps. You can go through a text exchange with somebody. That's what
A
I start with
great
a
place
lot
to
with
start.
couples, because here's a real time. There's a lot of couples that fight via text.
Oh my
So it's like,
gosh.
okay,
Yeah.
let's take that as a movie script, and
Mhm.
let's unpack it. Let's edit it out, and let's look at who's this person you are, and who's this person the antagonist in your head is.
Mhm.
What's the moves each of you are making? And
Mhm.
that's where it's so practical to me, because it's all about moves, which is tangible
Yeah.
and it's realistic. And you can
Mhm.
start to see it as, okay, wait, that's a move they made, justifiable or not,
Mhm.
whatever reasons they did it or not, that's what they did. Okay, so how do I address that move? Not
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
that.
What's the best way to address that move?
Right.
Coming from the best of me. And so when I start to talk to people about this, they're always like, they think I'm talking about backing down. I'm like, oh no, oh, we're not backing
No,
down. We're not
no.
backing down. We are stepping up, but I'm going to help you step up in a collaborative and courageous and a kind way. And that's, sometimes I call that the third way, because like most of us, I grew up in a family where it was avoid, 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 explode, right? And there was
Mm-hmm.
no third way. There was no, I'm going to talk straight to you, and you're going to know every second that I'm talking to you that I'm on your side and that I really care about you. That was not a thing, and that's not a thing for
Mm-hmm.
most people growing up. And that is the only way to have a good marriage. Is I'm going to tell
Mm-hmm.
you exactly what I think of you. I'm not going to leave anything out, and at every moment while I'm telling you exactly what I think of you, you're going to know how much I care about you, and you're going to know how important you are to me. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
only way to create a good marriage. But how could I have possibly done that when I was 25 years old, when I had literally never seen it?
Right. Right.
Impossible. And so I got
And I
married.
don't
I
even
got
know
married when
I'm
I was
capable.
25. No, yeah, I didn't even know it existed. It's like if you'd
Yeah.
never seen an airplane. I got married at 25. All I knew was avoid, 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 explode. And all she knew was
Yeah.
avoid, 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 explode. And that's what we did for like 20 years. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's really sad, but that's part of what drives me is I want couples to have options that I didn't have when I was a young newlywed. Because it was just such a tragedy. Like we believed in love and we believed in marriage, and we were dedicated and committed and stubborn,
Mm-hmm.
and we still it fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
We were not even close to prepared. I mean, Schnarch says no one's ready for marriage. Marriage makes you ready for marriage. But there's also a spectrum there where when I got married, I was so far from being ready for marriage that it really turned into kind of a dumpster fire, which is just, it's so sad because then it affects the children and it affects us and it affected my
Mm-hmm.
job and all this stuff. And
And that's
so,
that's what's so fascinating about just this whole lens. in some ways. Because I was just asked this the other day. I've been a part of a Christian dating app for a while now,
Hmm.
where I get to host these tables where
Oh, cool.
I just do Q&A on what ask a marriage and family therapist anything
Hmm.
you want, quite time. And so there's like 200 people that were on it this
Oh,
past
that's
week,
amazing.
and from all over the world. And one of the first questions was, "How do I know I'm ready for marriage?" And I quickly, "You're not." let's
You are
just be
not.
clear.
But the only way
But
you could ever become capable of being married is by getting married and figuring it out.
right, right.
But we
But it's
have
recognizing,
guidance in
yes.
2025 that is so powerful, and it makes
Well,
such a huge
fair,
difference.
but there's still an element of we don't know what we're in for until we're fully in it. I mean, because that's like every time I've had a chance, like this last year's getaway was one of the few times that in my memory, this was number 9 of the retreat we do. And it was one of the only times where when I go through, okay, let's get an idea of the audience, who's been married less than 5 years? Nobody raised their hand. Who's been
Mhm.
married less than 10 years? Nobody raised their
Wow.
hand. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, we can do stuff here
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
anytime people have been there that are newly or wed, quote unquote, they don't quite get it because they don't quite get, and this is I don't know who the quote I need to attribute it to, but I love the idea of the morning I wake up and wonder if I made a mistake is when marriage really begins,
That's
right?
a good
And
quote. That's a good quote.
because then I'm dealing with, and the mistake isn't mistake largely is I'm wondering, is this the right person?
Mhm.
Who is this person? That kind of
Yeah.
thing. Now all of a sudden that's when marriage really begins.
Mhm.
And until that is gone, that the shine is gone, we're
Mhm.
idealized. We're not
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
the whole story, right? And so I think my love will see us through. No, the love will keep my commitment to keep trying and show up again. I don't know if it'll be enough, right? It's like we're required to bring our best. It may not be enough in
Yeah.
this relationship, but I'm required to do it. And when you can get that, once people have got life together under their skin with each other, under their belts with each other, and they actually have had moments of, I don't like you at all, but I'm still here because it's
Mhm.
a commitment I've made to me
Mhm.
first, and then I'll decide if I want to stay committed to you. Now all of a sudden we can work with that. And I
Yeah.
think that is such a hopeful message
That is.
because it lets people, I mean, I have client after client that have found me from the show and there's something different and they're coming in just beat down and despondent. And when they can get a sense of, okay, wait, but they've got a commitment to themselves with this commitment they've made, that gives me such hope, right? I don't know if their spouse is going to be on board with it or not. That's not matter at this point. But to watch when that clicks and they're like, okay, I can see that.
Mhm.
I can see that within my realm and within my grasp is me handling me better.
Yeah.
I can do something with that.
And the person you're married to is the perfect person to help you with that.
Mm-hmm.
I work with so many couples who are where one person or both people are considering leaving, and I don't really try to keep couples together, but I do say if you leave before you face the lessons of this relationship, you will regret that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so, what I encourage couples to do is if you can dedicate a few months to dealing with what this relationship is showing you about yourself, that will
Yeah.
bless your life for the rest of your life. And there is no better person in the world to help you deal with yourself right now than this person who's sitting here with you. So
Yeah.
if you're willing to face the reality of what the two of you have created together and what weaknesses, very real weaknesses that you have that are keeping both of you from having the kind of relationship you want to have, you can deal with that right now and then decide whether you're going to stay together. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a world of difference from leaving before you deal with
Totally.
the issues.
Yeah. I tell clients if you'll give it a good solid 6 to 9 months, it'll be a no-brainer if you should stay or go.
And you'll know, and you will be more prepared to leave or more prepared to stay. You have two much better
Yep.
options. But
Yep.
you need to do the work before you decide if you're going to leave or
Right.
not.
Because otherwise you're just running, and that's what we spend too much time running from ourselves anyway.
Yeah, and if you run, you're going to end up in a similar pickle in 5 years.
Yeah. if not sooner.
if not sooner. Yeah, sometimes it
because
takes a little
because
while, but yeah.
how many relationships are there that how many people out there are serial relationship people,
Oh yeah.
right? That they're just bouncing from relationship, and
Mm.
it's they're
Well,
not
that's
dealing
the
with
normal
themselves.
rhythm. I mean, it's either, you go from relationship to relationship, or you kind of settle for a kind of monotony and unhappiness.
Yeah, one of my favorite early clients was a lady in her 60s, and this was 22 years ago when I was just starting in the field, and I'd been in it for 2 years or so, just starting to dive into Schnarch because I found his work in grad school, and so I
Mhm.
dove deep into it right away and went to every training I could, and um, so I just it started making sense, and she was on her she was her fourth marriage had ended, and she was looking at fifth. She had a guy, but she wasn't too sure. And so we were talking, and her question flat out was, "I just want to know how to find better men." And I was like, "How about let's switch this thing?" And this was how I opened this with it. "How about let's switch this thing?" "What do you mean?" "How about let's look at the common denominator of this story? That would be you, ma'am." And
Yeah,
she did not like that at all
I bet
at
she didn't.
first.
I bet she
And then as
didn't.
we started unpacking it, she looked at me at the end of the session and goes, "I think I'm gonna like you."
Yeah, I
I'm
call
like,
that
"Good."
trying to find an external solution to an internal problem,
Right,
which is not a real thing.
right. Well, it's that same kind of concept of I'm trying to find a solution to a problem at the same level at which the created the problem. Not
Mm.
going to do that,
Yeah.
right? If I don't raise my level of functioning and awareness of stuff, I'm not solving the problems that create that at that level I started them at, right? So it's a constant trajectory of how am I better today than I was yesterday or a year ago or whatever. And there's probably minute improvements all the time, as well as some regression times. And I pull back a little bit. That's okay. But when I'm aware of it, I'm better.
One of my favorite concepts from Crucible is the idea of brain functioning. I don't know why we don't talk about it this way all the time, but I have a liver and I have a kidney and I have lungs and I have a brain, and they're all organs. And I went for a
Yep.
long run today and my lungs are growing right now. I can feel them. And my brain is the same. There are certain things that I can do that help my brain become more healthy. And the signs of
Yep.
a brain that's functioning well are courage and kindness and discipline. And to the extent that I am courageous and kind and disciplined, then my brain is doing well. And when I'm not courageous and
Mm-hmm.
kind and disciplined, my brain is doing less well. And like you say, there's variances, and some days I'm doing better. But if I look at the trajectory of my life over the past 5 years, there's a massive improvement in brain functioning. And what a
Yeah.
blessing that has been for me. And that's, what I hope to offer to clients, that just like you can get stronger at the gym, your brain can get stronger. And when your brain gets stronger, the burdens of life feel lighter because you're stronger. It's just like if I
Yeah.
have to pick up a 50-pound box and I've been exercising, that's fine. If I have to pick
Yeah.
up a 50-pound box and I haven't lifted anything in 10 years, then I'm not going to be able to do it.
Yeah. Or you're gonna hurt
Or
yourself
you
doing
pull your
so.
back out.
Yeah, that's the same thing too. That if you look at the trajectory of Schnarch's work and how he ended with the whole concept of regression
Mm.
and that framework, that's ugly fish is terminology that's used in my house
Yeah,
with my
absolutely.
family. It
Yeah.
it is so tactically appropriate that
Mhm.
my daughter who's 20 was heading back to college last summer after a horrifically bad summer of breakup
Mhm.
with the first college boyfriend. So this was a big deal because this was one that looked like, well, this has hope, right? And then all of a sudden, out of the blue,
Mhm.
he called and broke up at the beginning of the summer, and so she was wrecked for a big chunk of the summer. And then on her way back, this is also when we were using this terminology, and I was trying to do what I could alongside her to help her navigate some of this. And so she's an hour out of town from where her college is up in Kansas, and she calls me. And I'm like, oh crap! I hate anytime my kids are on the road. I hate a phone call from them
Oh, of
initially
course.
because it's
Yeah.
like, what's going on? What happened? Right? And but looking back at it, I love it because she answers. I answer the phone and there's some sniffling a little bit, and she's like, "Dad, I'm really regressed."
Oh.
And I'm like, "How deep are you?" And I'm at the bottom. Okay, Do you need to pull over? Are you close? Are you okay? No, I'm good. Okay. And then we talked for the next
Yeah.
hour.
Oh,
We just
what a
talked
gift.
because she gave a picture that
Mm,
helped accurately depict what's going on with her, which if you can do that, you bring your functioning up
yeah.
immediately. That's the brain functioning.
Well,
That's the
she
ability
did the most
of
brilliant
all of it.
thing of saying I'm regressed. What a
Yes.
gift that she just knows how to say that because there's no judgment, there's no shame. It's like this is
Yeah.
a thing. I mean, I went through a horrible experience, and this is a thing my brain does after a horrible
Hmm.
experience. And it
Hmm.
won't last forever, and there's a way out, and I know how to take care of myself and swim up. Would you mind
Hmm.
explaining the ugly fish? Just this once again, I've never introduced this to my
Oh,
audience, so
sure.
would you?
No, this is so good. I mean, I use this anytime I get a chance to speak. This is terminology because it's so powerful
Yeah, it is.
of a better way to depict and more accurately quantify who I am and how I'm interacting with my world. And so Schnarch he uses the idea of the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest part of the world. And there are creatures that live down at the bottom. And when my brain caves in on itself, or I go spaghetti brain or fog brain or flooded with emotion, anxiety, any terminology fits with this. That's why I love the idea of brain state, like you're describing, of brain function. How well is this organ functioning?
Mhm.
That when it's not functioning well, I become an ugly fish, which that's the stuff that lives at the bottom of the ocean, at the bottom of this trench.
And what are those
And
fish like? How well do they treat each other?
they are as scary and ugly as can be.
Yeah,
They also, there are no friends down there.
yeah. There's no
There's
love,
nobody in your
no
corner.
kindness.
There's nobody there supporting you. They only
Yeah.
want to eat you or screw you. That's all
Hmm.
they're there for.
Hmm.
And what we don't realize is when I'm not functioning well, I become that,
Yeah.
even though I
Universally,
think
we
I'm
we
not.
all become that.
Yes. And
Hmm.
so the goal then becomes, how do I recognize my level of ugly faster or my level of regression faster? Because just by doing that, I at least stop the dropping,
Hmm.
and then I can
Yeah.
do the steps I need to become more buoyant in my
Yeah.
life. And that's the go for a walk, take deep breaths, talk it out. There's a lot of different things you can do when I can actually level myself off. And so we use it as just, um, we know we can create storms when we walk into homes with each other. That if
Yes, we
I'm not
can.
functioning well, I can wreck an evening.
Yeah, you
My
can.
wife can
Yeah.
come home from work after a really stress. She's a tax accountant, and so after
Mm.
really stressful overload days, which
Mm.
is very common, she can wreck an evening
Mm.
by just her mood and her awareness and her functioning level. And so it's very common now on the better days. I'm ugly fish warning.
Yeah.
I'm not doing well today. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean save me. That
No.
just means give me some room.
Yeah.
I
Well,
need to
but
do
when
what
you
I need to
say
do for
that,
me here.
you're letting her know what's going on with you, and you're also taking responsibility for what's going on with you,
Right.
as
Right.
opposed to, the more typical pattern, which is I'm not doing well and I'm somehow going to make it your responsibility or blame it on you,
Right.
which is the normal ugly fish pattern. And
You
that's why
you need to
admitting it
fix me.
is,
Yeah, you need to
yeah,
fix me
yeah,
and my functioning level.
yeah, you need to change so I can be okay,
Yeah.
is the one way to say it. But if I can say I'm regressed, all of a sudden, just in saying that, I'm regressed. I'm responsible for my regression, and
Hmm.
I'm working on swimming up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's possible, she's only at 4 miles down.
Hmm.
While I'm 7 miles down. Okay,
Yeah.
we can have an interaction. It's not going to be deep and profound. It's
Hmm.
going to be very, very tactical and surface, structural in the sense
Yeah.
of, hey, what are we doing for dinner?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, this is coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's surface level conversations that aren't deep because you can't do deep if you're too deep
No, you
in the
cannot.
trench, right? So the whole idea is recognizing I will fluctuate up and down moment to moment in
Hmm.
my brain state.
Yeah.
And the more I can be aware, man, the more empowered I am
Hmm.
of, okay, wait, yeah, I'm not doing well. I need to go for a walk. I need to
I
I
even
need to
do.
pet the dog.
I swim up
I need to go
sometimes.
sit by the
Like
pool. I
instead
need
of
to,
saying telling my wife I'm regressed, I'll just look at her. I'm like, I'm swimming. I'm swimming.
yeah,
Like I'm working on it.
that
And
works.
she'll just laugh. She's like, yeah, I know. So
Yeah, I just love we haven't gotten to this point because this would be weaponizing, and neither of us are operating well enough most of the time to do this. But it's like, hey, I'm a really ugly fish. Well, what kind? Tell me tell me which one.
that'd be funny
That
if you
doesn't
knew a
help the
bunch of
situation.
names. That'd be awesome. Like a rating. All right, Dr. Corey from Sexy Marriage Radio. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Where can people
Yeah,
find
man,
you?
this has been fun. Yeah, so my online world is completely housed at smr.fm. And so
Hmm.
SMR for Sexy Marriage Radio,
Yeah.
and then .fm like for the radio stations. That it's
Okay.
just the easiest. As my daughter claims, I have the shortest email address ever, with Corey at smr.fm. So it's very, very
That's a
quick
great address. I
and
love that.
intentional. Yes.
Yeah. Good for you. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I will talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.